When it comes to leftovers after Thanksgiving, everybody focuses on the turkey. What am I going to do with all the turkey that you have left over? Well, I had the opposite problem. I don't know if it's because we cooked that turkey sous vide or what, but we ended up with no turkey left over, but a whole lot of vegetables. So today what I thought I'd show you to do is how to make a simple cabbage soup, which is perfect for this time in between holidays when you want to watch your carbs and watch your weight a little bit. And I actually went out to the grocery store and had to purchase some turkey breast. And actually I got this extra lean ground turkey that we're going to use to make a soup today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to saute this turkey and get it started because the soup's going to be really easy and fast to put together. So let me go over here to the stove. We're going to start that ground turkey just to browning a little bit here in the pan as we get started to make our soup. Let's do just a little bit here on the pan to get that turkey kind of started in the pan. So while our chicken's cooking, what we're going to do now is get our vegetables prepped. So I just pulled everything I had left over, and one of those was lots of onions. I like onions in soup, so we're going to put a lot of them in there today. So let's chop up a yellow onion here. So this looks like a lot of onions, and frankly it is, but it'll go well with this cabbage. We have a big head of cabbage that we're going to use today. So let's check on our chicken and see how it's doing. So the chicken looks good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add these onions to this chicken. And as I said, there's quite a few of them, but we're going to saute them together just a little bit and kind of make a really thick, almost porridge-like soup. And so while that's cooking, we're just going to prep some additional vegetables. So I had some great carrots left over, so we're going to use those, trim those up just a little bit. I have these great organic carrots that we were able to find, and I thought that we could use them all for the holidays, but we couldn't. So I'm gonna show you kind of how I peel a carrot. I hold the base of the carrot toward me, take a peeler, and peel it in one stroke, just like that. I've seen people that like to do this, but it's really a lot faster if you'll just kind of peel a carrot like this. So it works the same way for parsnips in there. Got your carrot. And as we get these things done, we're just going to put them in our soup. We're not going to spend a lot of time thinking about what order they go in. So there's our carrots. So we're going to go ahead and put those on. Also had some garlic, so we're going to put a little bit of garlic in there. I'm just going to slice it up. I'm not going to do any fancy minced garlic or anything. Just put this in there. I sometimes think that the bigger you leave garlic, the less garlic taste you have. So putting quite a bit of garlic in there. So we're going to leave it in pretty big pieces. I have these two zucchinis. They're going to create a lot of juice, but they're going to be really good for the soup. They kind of add to the healthy nature of it. I'm not going to peel them. In fact, I'm just going to cut them into fourths. And we're going to put them just like this. And actually one may be enough, so we may stop there. We're going to save our green onions. I'm going to use those on the top. We have a beautiful red onion. A red bell pepper. Let's use that. And I'm going to do this kind of the quick way, which is to just kind of like cut the top and the bottom off and then cut the inside out. I don't like the white stuff in a bell pepper, but you end up with two pieces like this and then a top and a bottom. It's probably not the professional way to do it, but it's pretty fast. I'm just going to kind of chop this bell pepper up. Kind of a coarse dice. Same thing here. And this will make a really kind of a great addition to our soup. one of my friends on Instagram showed me all the bell peppers that they were making in their garden. And honestly, I'm just not a huge fan of green bell pepper. I don't like the flavor as much. Much prefer you use red bell pepper. And again, this is not about beauty, it's about speed. We're gonna use a jalapeno. I'm gonna show you a little trick here to get rid of the seeds. Just cut around the outside. Just like that. These seeds came out. Then you're left with three pretty good pieces of jalapeno there that don't have much seeds going on. Again, we're all about speed. We're trying to put dinner on the table here with some leftover turkey. So I'm gonna chop this jalapeno up. Can't ever tell how hot they're gonna be until you taste them. So this is a hot jalapeno. One's plenty. I also had some mushrooms. I washed these mushrooms right before we started. And so all we're gonna do here is just kind of chop up the mushrooms. There's nothing about this soup that doesn't sound good to me. All these are my favorite vegetables, so combining it with a little store-bought turkey should be pretty good. So we made quick work of those. So we're gonna add these to our pot too. And you notice I didn't use a big stock pot. I used a big saucier, a big skillet. And reason being is that this is gonna be a thick and kind of hearty soup, so we really didn't need a big stock pot. And I like the fact that it's got a bigger bottom on it so we can saute the vegetables a little bit better. Next we have some tomatoes. These tomatoes are just Roma tomatoes. I had them left over too. They're a little soft. We're gonna see how well we can do here to peel them up, get them ready to put in the soup. Again, probably if you were doing this the proper way, you'd seed these tomatoes so that you didn't have the tomato seeds in the soup. But again, I'm just trying to do this pretty quick after work. And we're just gonna put them in there, seeds and all. This time of year, it's kind of tricky buying tomatoes. Sometimes you can find really good ones. Sometimes they're kind of mealy. These tomatoes were okay. I wouldn't say nothing to brag about. Certainly not a summer tomato. And I'm gonna really kind of chop them into really a kind of a coarse dice. Because again, I want them to be kind of found in the soup. This is more of a porridge than a soup. So this is probably about 4 tomatoes. You could use whatever you have in the pantry. So if you didn't have a tomato, you didn't have to use them. I like tomatoes on salads, but these, as I said, weren't the best. So they're gonna find their way into a soup. Now we're getting down to kind of the start of the show. Remember I told you this was a cabbage soup, and I haven't had any cabbage yet, but I do have some. And this is a fresh head of cabbage. I picked it up when I picked up the turkey today. And probably don't need all this. This would make a huge pot of soup. And so if you're just cooking for your family, you almost can get away with probably just using about half of it, which is what I'm gonna do today. And I'm not gonna do a lot here either. I'm just gonna kind of shred this cabbage. Again, I want it to have some kind of bite within the soup. So that's about all I'm gonna do. And that's gonna add a really huge amount of mass to the soup, and it's gonna fill up our pot. As I said, that looks full, but it's gonna sink down as we start to cook the cabbage. It's all gonna shrink back down and form this really beautiful soup. I'm gonna give this a little bit of a stir around in that big pot. Okay, that porridge is gonna create a lot of juice from those vegetables, but we're still gonna have to add some stock. So here's where I think you can make a lot of decisions that can really make a good soup into a great soup. And that's deciding what kind of stock to put in there. Now, I had a couple of leftover stock that I bought at the store, and this is just a Kitchen Basics organic beef stock. And I also had some frozen turkey and duck stock. This stuff is like gold, it tastes delicious. I'm probably not gonna use it all in this soup, but I'm gonna pop out maybe just a cube of this frozen soup. We'll stick it over here and let it start to thaw out. It's gonna take a little bit. In the meantime, I'm gonna also add some things that are gonna start to build the flavor. And what I would tell you on soups like this, you can use a stock that you buy, but one thing that'll really jazz up your soup is if you'll deglaze the pan just a little bit with some wine. Now, to properly deglaze that pan, we would have done it before we added all these vegetables. But again, I'm just doing this because we're in a hurry and we're gonna see what kind of soup we can create here in this with these leftovers. And so in addition to that soup cube and the wine, I'm also gonna add one of these beef stocks. And then the final addition that we can add is some Demi Glaze. This is kind of a secret ingredient. Really hard to find in your local grocery store. You can sometimes find it in small packages, but it usually has too much salt. If you go to a big city grocery store, you can usually find a pre-made Demi Glaze. You can make it at home, but it's about a 24-hour process. So what this is actually veal stock or beef stock that's been reduced down into where it's just nothing but stock and gelatin. Yeah, just about a tablespoon of this to your stock, and what it's gonna do is really beef up the flavor. It's gonna give a lot of umami, it's gonna make the stock taste a lot richer, it's gonna make it taste homemade. It's a little trick. And that's where we are. We're pretty much done. That's gonna need to simmer probably for about 35 minutes, and then we're gonna check it. We don't know really how much salt we're gonna need, but we're gonna need a little bit. So I'm gonna add some salt now. We did use that beef stock that we bought at the grocery store. It has salt in it. As it reduces, it's gonna get a little bit salty. So we're gonna add a little bit of salt now, add some salt and pepper, and then we'll check in about 35 minutes and we'll see how it turned out. So it's been about 35 minutes. Let's go check our soup and see if it's done. Okay, so that's it. This is a very simple recipe using our leftover vegetables from Thanksgiving. If you need that recipe for the chicken seasoning, you can look at chefdano.com, and it's easy to find. And thanks for joining us for this episode.